Hi there, Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. Today we're going to be repotting my Bougainvillea Bonsai into a new pot, and I really like this pot. I've had it for a long time. The glaze is naturally getting that cracked look on it, which is kind of nice, an indication of old age in a pot. I think this pot's going to really suit the color of the tree. I hope anyway. And I'm not sure how it'll look when it flowers, but we'll see. This tree was repotted just over a year ago in May of 2015. We did rather a severe root pruning. Got all our roots radial, a flat root base on the bottom. And there's kind of a myth in bonsai that if you repot a tree, it weakens it. And I found with tropicals anyway, that repotting often invigorates the tree. It almost instantly makes it start to grow strongly, with more vigor, more health, and it seems to be really good for the tree. I think with a tropical tree, there's nothing worse than it sitting in soil that doesn't have any air spaces in it. Kind of compacted soil. So yeah, I found that repotting will really stimulate the tree to grow. So the reason I'm repotting the tree now, just after a year, is to do that, to stimulate the roots to grow, get some new soil in there, and put it in a nicer looking pot that I think will suit the tree better. In the last repotting video, I found a slight hairline crack in this pot at the back. So I want to get it into a nicer pot that suits the tree better. Well, let's get the tree out of the pot and see how the roots have been doing in just 1 year. Because this pot has a hairline crack in it, doesn't mean I'll be throwing it away or anything. It'll be used to train another small tree. Here comes the tree out of the pot. Wow. Some long roots there. So you can see lots of roots. That's 1 year's growth. The tree was obviously very happy in this soil. There's even some really thick roots that have grown around. There's a close-up of the roots that are running around the pot. We'll start by carefully raking out the roots and removing that layer of moss. We will be putting new moss on the tree, hopefully getting it ready for our club show this fall. But I won't put moss on it after this transplanting, just because we'll probably pile the soil up a little high on the tree and then remove our top layer later on and plant our moss. So the roots on a bougainvillea are very fine at first, and then as they grow and thicken, they toughen up. So we have to be very careful with these fine roots, not to, rip them and tear them. Just to be as careful as we can, trying to get our root base nice and radial, flat on the bottom. This tree is a good example of a tree that has been trained for a long time and pruning the root base flat on the bottom and getting the roots nice and radial. And you can see the effect. It slowly creates this nice trunk flare that will just keep improving as the tree gets older. We've had a very hot, dry summer this year, and last night we got rain, so it's very humid out today. Should be really good weather for repotting. As I've said before, repotting tropicals is best done mid-summer. It gives the tree the first half of summer to gain vigor, so it's nice and strong and healthy. And then you root prune and repot, and then the second half of summer, the tree recovers and grows a new root system. Or it doesn't grow a new root system, but continues to grow its roots. Okay, I think we're pretty good for raking out the top layer of surface roots. Let's flip the tree over now and start on the bottom. Now, on the bottom I've got this one large root that's wrapped itself around the pot completely. So we want to prune that off. So let's get rid of that. Let's find where it starts from first of all, which is somewhere in here. Hope you can see that. Yeah, I think you can. Okay, let's do a horizontal cut and get rid of that. That is a lot of root. See that? One root. Wow. That should make combing the bottom of the root base a lot easier. Again, we're being very delicate here. Not to rip through our fine root system. That large root was a really good example of why you should repot fairly often. If I had let that root grow, it would have continued to thicken up. It would have caused an imbalance in the root system. It would have fed one part of the trunk more energy than the other parts, and we would have started getting a trunk that wasn't round. You would have got coarser foliage on one side of the tree than the other, and it would have, yeah, it just wouldn't have, continued to develop our root system in a nice manner. The rest of the root system looks pretty balanced, which is how you want to keep it. Okay, so I think we've combed out our root system the best we can. Let's go wash it now, and then we'll start our root pruning. I've got the root system washed now, and let's take a look. There's that really thick root I cut off, and it has a corresponding thick surface root here that's definitely out of balance with the rest of the root system. You can see it on the bottom here. It's our one thick root, so we're going to have to cut that back quite hard to try and balance our root system out. So let's do that. I am going to prune it off right here, getting rid of a lot of the root there, and we're going to trim back the roots in that general area fairly hard to take vigor out of this section of the root system and encourage vigor in the other sections so they can catch up with this thick root. There's another root on the bottom here that's growing the wrong direction. We want to trim that completely off. A few surface roots growing straight down we want to get rid of. Some of them can be trained to fan outwards from the trunk of the tree. There's a crossing root here that we want to get rid of. Like that. Take one off the bottom here. And I think that's pretty well got it. I am going to try and take this root back just a little further to there. That makes the root ball even flatter on the bottom. The last thing we're going to do is check our surface roots on top, making sure everything's in order. There's a root here that's doing something funny. It's taking a strange direction. Let's fix that. So we'll keep our radial part of it and trim off the part that goes in an odd direction. Some movement in the roots is fine, but you don't want them too far off being radial. Let's get our toothbrush now and we'll clean up some of the moss off the surface roots. Looks pretty good. I think the tree is ready for planting. Every pot has a front to it. Let's have a look and pick the front of this pot. On this side of the pot, you can see the glaze has dripped down onto the feet here. So, and this one, it's got some green down on the feet here. Let's have a look at the other side, see if it's any better. So this side has a nice clean feet on the glaze. Nice, fairly uniform color and everything. So this is definitely the front of the pot. I've got my drainage screens in the pot. I don't wire them in. It makes it easier taking the tree out if they're not wired in. And I'll start to fill the pot up with just regular bonsai soil. Put a thin layer and build up a mound where we're going to put the tree. I've looked at the tree, I've rotated it around, and I still like the present front of the tree the best. It's not bad from the back, but no, I still like the front the best. So we're going to plant it the same orientation, maybe just twisted slightly, but basically the same. So the position in the pot, because the tree is a slanting style, we're going to move it over this side of the pot more to kind of create an offset but balanced composition. So the next thing we want to do is we want to determine the height in the pot also. In the last video we were kind of slowly exposing our root base, and we'll continue to do that slowly over the years. We won't rush it. So let's see the height and position of the tree. I'm going to come back and have a look at it. Okay, I think the tree is too far to the right hand side of the pot. I think we could move it towards the center a little bit. It just looks a bit tight with the edge here. Thinking it still looks too far over. That's looking better. I kind of like it there, I think. The tree is sitting a little low in the pot. I looked down at eye level across the rim of the pot, and yeah, it was a little low. It could be moved up a few millimeters. So let's do that. So I've got a mound. I'm just going to position the tree. Have a look at that. I think that's the right height in the pot. I think compositionally it's pretty good too. We've got the tree slightly to the back of the pot just to give a bit more of a landscape feel to the front of the pot. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's rake out our roots. Make sure that all the surface roots are in position, and then we'll put our soil on top. A few roots at the back here we'll have to sort out. There we go. Okay, that looks good. Let's add our soil. This is where I need a little soil scoop. Have to add one to the toolbox. Because this tree is going in the greenhouse when I'm done with it, it's not wired into the pot, and I've got a fairly coarse mix here in the pot with very little organic matter. It's pretty well just straight perlite and turfus. And if our last video was any indication, you saw that one thick root that grew down into the coarser bonsai soil. It did really well. So I think these bougainvilleas really like a nice loose soil. Okay, let's make sure our soil's all worked in here. A lot of people ask me why I don't wire my trees into the pot. There's a few reasons. I like to kind of feel how the tree's wiggling as I'm getting the soil in around the roots. And as you get the soil worked into the roots, it really firms the tree up. So I like to be able to feel that. If the tree was wired in, it would be rigid and you couldn't tell if you had voids in between your roots. The other reason is I don't like leaving wire marks across my surface roots. I've seen many really good quality bonsai trees destroyed, to me, at least in my opinion, by having wire marks across the surface roots. As I said before, surface roots to me are like the foundation of the bonsai. There's no point working on the top of a tree if it's got bad surface roots. You should work on the surface roots first, get a good foundation on your tree, a good root system, then start thickening the trunk up, and then start working on the branches. If you have a poor root system, don't even bother with the top of the tree until you get your roots sorted out. They're important both for the appearance and the vigor of your tree. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I could add a little more soil to this side. And I think we'll give it a good watering. If this tree were going outside on the bench after transplanting, I would put a fine layer of moss or soil on the surface to help prevent evaporation. But because it's going in the greenhouse, I can just put it straight in with the regular bonsai soil because it's humid in the greenhouse and you don't get a lot of surface evaporation from your soil. So I'm just washing the whole tree here, and that should be good. So in the greenhouse as aftercare, whenever the soil surface starts to dry out, I'll just mist it with my spray bottle to keep the soil moist all the way through. So that's it for our pink Pixie Bougainvillea repot. I hope the tree's happy in its new soil and its new pot. I guess time will tell. So we'll check in with the tree later on in the year and see how it's doing. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai, do something green today, plant a vegetable garden. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.